You've seen it in 1,000 stories. The final blow lands, the giant falls, the enemy's banner hits the dirt. A long, heavy silence hangs in the air, and then the roar of the crowd. Victory. The war, they tell you, is over. They will lift you on their shoulders, call you a hero, and offer you a seat at the table of the victors. They will tell you that you have finally earned your peace. And that is the most dangerous lie you will ever hear. We are taught to fear the battle, to dread the struggle, to see defeat as the ultimate enemy. But the warrior who has walked the fire knows a darker truth. Defeat is an honest teacher. It is a brutal, merciless instructor who strips you of your ego, shows you your every weakness, and forces you to rebuild yourself from the ground up on a foundation of pure, unshakable reality. But victory. Victory is a beautiful liar. It is a seductive poison, a warm and golden cup that numbs the senses and softens the will. It whispers to you that the work is done, that you are complete, that you have arrived. It is in the quiet, comfortable days that follow the win, in the long, celebrated peace, that the true, unseen war begins. It is a war against a far more treacherous opponent than any you have ever faced on a battlefield. It is the war against yourself, the first poison, the slow rot of comfort. The first enemy that peace sends is comfort. It does not come with a sword. It comes with a soft bed, a warm meal, and the gentle applause of a world that is happy to see you finally rest. It feels like a reward. It is, in fact, a cage. Think of the blade you carried into battle. Every day you sharpened it. You cleaned it of blood and dirt. You felt its weight, its balance, its cold, hard purpose. It was an extension of your will, a tool of absolute focus. Now the war is won. You hang the sword on the wall. It becomes a decoration, a memory. And in the warm, still air of your new life, a fine layer of dust settles on its edge. Then, unseen, a spot of rust begins to bloom. It is slow, it is silent, but it is happening. That blade is your soul. Comfort is the rust. When you were fighting, your body was a weapon. It was lean, hard, and ready. It knew hunger. It knew pain. It knew the cold, hard ground. Now in peace, it learns the language of softness, the extra hour of sleep, the rich food that dulls the mind, the avoidance of any and all hardship because you tell yourself, I've earned this. And with every easy choice, a layer of fat grows over the muscle. The wolf that survived the winter by hunting in the snow is slowly, comfortably being turned into a well-fed dog. It loses its edge. It forgets the scent of danger. It begins to fear the cold. This is the first betrayal of victory. You fight a war to win a moment of peace, only to find that peace is a more patient and effective killer than any enemy you ever faced. It does not break you with a single blow. It dissolves you slowly, day by day, choice by choice. It convinces you that your discipline was a tool for the war, not for your life. It whispers that the hardship is over when in fact the most dangerous hardship has just begun. The hardship of staying sharp when there is no visible enemy to sharpen you against. The man who sleeps in a warm bed every night will eventually forget the feeling of the cold earth. And the man who forgets the cold is the first to freeze when the next winter comes. And it always comes. Do not let your victory become your tomb. Do not let the spoils of war become the chains that bind you to a life of comfortable decay. The warrior who has won must immediately begin to search for a new way to bleed, a new way to suffer, a new way to stay sharp, or he will be the first casualty of the peace he fought so hard to create. The second poison, the blindness of ego. The second enemy that peace unleashes is your own ego. In the heat of battle, there is no room for it. There is only action, reaction, survival. But when the fight is over and you are standing on the mountain of your victory, the ego awakens. It is the voice that replays your greatest moments, the one that whispers, you are different, you are special, you are a conqueror. Defeat is a humbling experience. It forces you to look at your flaws with brutal honesty. But victory is an intoxicant. It can make you believe in your own legend. You start to see yourself through the eyes of the crowd. You are the hero, the champion, the one who cannot lose. And in that moment, you become blind. You stop listening. Why would a king listen to the advice of a common soldier? You've already proven you know the way. You stop learning. What is there left to learn when you are already at the summit? You stop seeing the world as it is and begin to see it as a reflection of your own greatness. This is the blindness of the ego. It is a fortress you build around yourself, not to keep enemies out, but to keep the truth from getting in. Musashi, after becoming the most feared and respected swordsman in all of Japan, did not build a palace and declare himself a master. He continued to wander. He took up painting, sculpture, and calligraphy. He became a student again. Why? Because he understood this poison. He knew that the moment you believe you have arrived is the moment you begin your descent. The ego convinces you that your past victories guarantee future ones. This is a fatal lie. The world does not care about your last victory. The next storm does not care that you survived the one before it. The next opponent does not tremble because of the ghosts of the men you have already defeated. Each moment is new, each battle is the first. And the man who walks onto the battlefield blinded by the light of his own past glory is the one who will be cut down by an enemy he never saw coming. Your ego is the blind king sitting on a throne in your mind. It demands praise. It punishes dissent. It rewrites history to make you the hero of every story. You must dethrone it. You do this by deliberately seeking out things that humble you. Seek a skill you have not mastered. Listen to the counsel of those who are not impressed by you. And most importantly, never forget the taste of your own failures. Keep the memory of every time you were broken, every time you were wrong, every time you fell close to your heart. Those memories are the antidote to the poison of pride. They are the guides that will keep your eyes clear when victory tries to blind you. The third poison, the still waters of stagnation. The third and most subtle enemy of peace is stagnation. The war gave you a singular purpose: survive, advance, win. Every action had a direction. Every day had a mission. Now the war is over. The mission is complete. And in the stillness that follows, a dangerous question arises. What now? The warrior's spirit is like a river. It needs to move. It needs resistance to feel its own force. It needs a direction to flow. When the war ends, the river can empty into a still, quiet lake. It looks like peace. It feels like peace. But still water, if it does not find a new outlet, eventually becomes stagnant. It grows foul. It becomes a breeding ground for decay. This is what happens to the warrior who does not find a new war. His skills, once sharpened daily by necessity, begin to atrophy. His focus, once absolute, begins to wander. His will, once forged in the fire of a clear objective, begins to soften in the absence of a clear path forward. He has climbed his mountain, and now he sits at the top, admiring the view. But the warrior's purpose is not to admire the view. It is to climb. Victory can trick you into believing you have reached a destination. But the warrior's path has no final destination. There is always a higher mountain. There is always a deeper understanding. There is always a stronger version of yourself waiting to be forged. The summit is not a place to build a house. It is a vantage point from which to see the next range of mountains you must conquer. This new war does not have to be against another person. In fact, the greatest warriors, after their external battles are won, turn the fight inward. The war becomes about mastering a new art, as Musashi did. It becomes about building something, a family, a community, a legacy. It becomes about the relentless pursuit of self-mastery in a new domain. The enemy is no longer a man with a sword. It is your own ignorance, your own impatience, your own lack of skill. You must find a new reason to train, a new reason to rise before the sun, a new reason to push past the point of comfort. If you do not give your will a new direction, it will turn on itself. You will become restless, bored, and haunted by the ghost of the man you were when you had a purpose. Do not let your victory be the end of your story. Let it be the end of a single chapter. And on the very next page, you must begin to write the next war. The world will not hand you a new purpose. You must forge it yourself. The fourth poison, the golden cage of fear. And this leads to the most ironic poison of all: fear. When you were fighting, when you had nothing, you were truly free. You had nothing to lose but your own life, and you had already made peace with that. You could take risks. You could be unpredictable. You were a storm, a force of nature. But now you have won, and with victory comes spoils, a reputation, a title, respect, possessions. You are no longer the man with nothing to lose. You are now the man with everything to protect. And your victory, which was supposed to be your liberation, has become a golden cage. The fear of losing what you have gained becomes your new master. You start to move differently. You become conservative. You avoid risks. You worry more about protecting your position than about advancing. The man who once walked into a fight willing to die is now afraid of making a mistake that might tarnish his reputation. The storm has been tamed. This is the final treachery of peace. It gives you something beautiful and then makes you a slave to the fear of it being taken away. Your past success becomes a heavy crown. You walk carefully so it does not fall. You speak carefully so you do not offend those who might threaten your position. You stop being a warrior and you become a politician, a curator of your own museum. You must be willing to lose it all. You must be willing to walk away from the throne, to burn the reputation, to risk the title, all in the name of staying true to the path. The warrior's spirit cannot survive in a cage, no matter how gilded. You must constantly remind yourself that you are not defined by what you have, but by what you are willing to do. Look at your life. What have you won that you are now afraid to lose? A job? A relationship? A certain status? That is your cage, and you will not be free until you are willing in your heart to open the door and walk out, leaving it all behind if your path demands it. True power is not in what you accumulate. It is in your ability to let it all go without breaking your own spirit. The man who is willing to lose everything is the one man who can never truly be defeated. The antidote, the discipline of peace. So you stand victorious, surrounded by the four silent assassins of peace: comfort, ego, stagnation, and fear. How do you fight them? You do not fight peace with more violence. You fight it with a new, more profound kind of discipline. The discipline of peace. It begins the morning after your victory, when the world tells you to sleep in, to celebrate, to rest on your laurels. That is the morning you must rise earlier than ever before. That is the morning you must train harder than you ever did in the war. You are not training for the last battle anymore. You are training for the long, quiet war ahead. You are sending a message to yourself, to the universe, that your victory was not an end point. It was a starting line. You must manufacture your own hardship. When your life becomes comfortable, you must deliberately introduce discomfort. Take the cold shower, fast for a day, train in the rain, sleep on the floor. These are not acts of self-punishment. They are rituals of remembrance. They are designed to keep the memory of the cold earth alive in your bones, to remind your body and your spirit that softness is a choice, not a right. You must become a student again. Find something you know nothing about and humble yourself before it. Let yourself be a beginner. Let yourself fail. This is the antidote to ego. The master who is willing to become a novice again is the one who will never stop growing. And finally, you must hold your victories loosely. See them for what they are: fleeting moments, echoes of a past effort. Be grateful for them, learn from them, and then let them go. Your identity is not in the trophy on your shelf. Your identity is in the calluses on your hands, in the discipline you uphold today, in the man you are forging yourself into for the battles of tomorrow. The war is never over. The most dangerous peace is the one you declare on yourself. The warrior knows this, and so he stays at war, not with the world, but with the part of himself that would let a victory become his undoing. He finds his peace not in the absence of conflict, but in the relentless, disciplined, and humble continuation of his own path. He remains a student. He remains a soldier. He remains hungry. He remains sharp. Even in peace, he stays at war, and that is why he can never truly be defeated.